I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the orientation of your IJ slash internal jugular venous puncture stick. I think it's very important to keep in mind, let's say the patient's head is here, body is going this way, and the internal jugular is running in this plane right here, that you actually can stick the IJ in a trajectory that's parallel to its orientation or perpendicular to its orientation. And then actually, when we're scanning the IJ, typically the probe is actually perpendicular to its long axis like we have here. And then, okay, so here we see the internal jugular vein right there. And similarly here, we can basically stick this way, with our micropuncture, or we can go this way. Now, the important thing to keep in mind is that there are pluses and minuses and different indications for when you're going to stick basically parallel to the vein versus perpendicular. Number one, you have to think about the trajectory of your equipment. This is not going to run in the plane of the vessel. So if you're putting in something like a temporary line, or you're just pretty much doing routine IJ access to do, like an IVC filter placement, or to do any type of endovascular work, oftentimes we're going to go this orientation. Similarly, if you're putting in a temporary line that you kind of want to go along the long axis of the vessel and the neck, you're going to go, you're basically going to stick parallel to the long axis of the vessel. Now, if you're doing something like a tunneled line that's going to tunnel over, from the upper chest and is going to curve over, then you're going to do a stick in this orientation. You're going to go perpendicular to the vessel, because you don't want to take too sharp of a turn, and it's just a little bit more of a natural curve with a stick like this for the tunneled line to go into the vessel, through the chest, into the vessel, and down the IJ. Now, when you're actually doing the case, obviously if you do a stick like this, you're not going to be able to see the entire axis, basically the entire length of your needle, because you're going, perpendicular to the probe, even though you're parallel to the vein. Alternatively, here you'll be able to see the whole length of your needle if you're in the right plane. But again, this, while on ultrasound is maybe a little easier to track your needle, isn't going to be the most common IJ stick, because oftentimes we're going to go parallel to the vessel. So just a few considerations, before you start trying to do your stick, make sure that even though you've scanned, you've picked your target, that am I going to go perpendicular or am I going to go parallel? Because then that's going to dictate, where you mark your site, where you're going to do your wheel, your dermatotomy, and how you're going to hold everything. Okay, so just keep that in mind. There are two different orientations that we commonly use to do the IJ stick.